So I just included this. This was a part of another presentation we did, and the highlighted box, though, I think is the part that maybe your group recognizes the most, right? Like so. But like just the talk is that like we use a phone system, Twilio and Calabrio. There's a million phone systems, not as important, and we would get these audio transcripts, and um, in a real world scenario, right? Like we would get these audio transcripts. We did not get transcriptions, so we couldn't do any like data mining on them, right? They're just audio. So a real person would have to listen to a call. And there's two groups sort of in PPL that would do that, right? Like so I want to say like every customer services manager will probably listen to a few calls and we get together and talk about it. But there's also a phone quality team, a team of 4 or 5 people. They will listen to some other calls and they score the agents and make sure we're meeting our compliance targets and all those kind of things. One is that was purely random, right? Like the way they were selecting calls prior to the Call Vault tool was a purely random process. So we're probably missing, right? As you said, 8 minutes a call, 8 calls an hour, 6 people. All of you can do the math, and we're not even scratching the surface of like our weekly call volume, right? Like to actually really know what's going on. So we had some vendors in, and just to give some other background, we had some vendors come in, and we actually started some projects to get call transcriptions through Microsoft and various others. And it sort of never worked out. We would get to a certain point. Ben Spanswick's team, Ben said, "Hey, Rodman, I think we could do this, right?" Um,
Right.
he's like, I think we could do this. We could do it for lower cost. So
Right.
one of the senior data scientists on his team came in. We sort of like uh, figured out a way to get the calls transcribed, and then they uh, sort of used an LLM. It's in-house. It's trained. We're not passing data to like outside sources. Um,
Mhm.
so like they did all the training and all that, and now we are currently transcribing. I want to say like 80% of our calls are being transcribed like in a manner daily, right? Now we still have not gotten to our future state where we're able to process all those calls and do those things. We're at the beginning of that particular journey, but November was sort of the first month this thing went live. We were able to go in. And process some calls, and we were able to give back some feedback to sort of leadership about what's going on. Um, Prior to November, right, we were doing this. The model has been completed, and it was probably 75% ready to go since probably
Mm.
late summer. And the way we started off, and just to prove that this worked, and you'll see some of the data from that, was that we we have certain callers who call us 3 or more times a month, right? And one of the
Mm.
questions, I'm
Right.
I'm in meetings with the executives. I'm like, who's calling their utility company three
The
times a
most.
month? No one is doing that. And so again, we gave some data over to Ben's team. They were able to run it through the model, and we were able to get some insights as to like why these particular customers were calling us 3 or more times a month. Um,
Right.
and,
Critical.
and so it's been a great relationship. Again, data scientists are really smart people creating great products, though, but they're really driving value ultimately to the business, and that's what like that's what everyone wants.
Right. Do you mind if I raise a question?
Please ask away.
Right. For here, I mean, for now, you have some tools, maybe
Yep.
natural language transcription, and then you do data analytics. In the future, maybe you use more of a famous large language model. But I wonder, is your company trying to do it on the open source version, which is free, just more labor from your team, or you are willing to pay some companies who will take over the, I don't know, large language model input and output for you?
So I think we explored, and Ben I saw just jumped on, so he may be able to answer this question, right? He's a little closer to that than I am.
Right.
I think in the past we explored some outside companies doing the particular work for us, passing it in, but ultimately I don't know where we will wind up in the future, right? But like again, to the point I was making before, Ben and his team are super talented, and we're able to do an in-house solution that is far less cost than, you know, if we did this with Microsoft or some other outside source. Ben, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share about that part.
Yeah, I can chime in. I apologize, I'm driving, so hopefully you can hear me okay. But yeah, it's a constant build versus buy discussion, right, that we have. And at the end of the day, there's so many use cases for generative AI, large language models, et cetera, that, you know, if you went out to a third party and purchased every single one of them, we'd run out of money really quickly, right? So if there's a viable use case for us to handle it in-house, then we certainly want to take that opportunity. But, you know, despite being a risk-averse industry, utilities in general, right, we're certainly welcome to third parties.